There's a tiny butterfly-shaped gland right in your neck that basically holds the master switch for your body's energy. It's the thyroid, of course. And really, understanding how it controls your metabolism is one of the biggest keys to understanding your own health. So let's dive in and see how this thing actually works.
This right here is the single most important idea to hang on to. The thyroid isn't just some simple on-off switch, no. It's way more sophisticated. Think of it like a thermostat, or maybe a dimmer switch, that's constantly fine-tuning the speed at which your entire body operates. So you've got this little gland sitting just below your voice box, and its impact is just huge. It influences pretty much every organ system you have. We're talking from your brain and your heart all the way down to your digestive tract. So how does it have all this control? Well, it works through two crucial hormones that you've probably heard of: thyroxine, which we call T4, and triiodothyronine, or T3. These are the messengers that carry out the thyroid's orders all throughout your body. Okay, now here's where it gets really clever. There's a clear division of labor between these two. The thyroid releases way more T4, but you can think of T4 as the storage and transport version. It's T3 that's the real active form. It's the one that actually goes into your cells and gets the job done. Most of that T4 just gets converted into T3 right in the tissues, exactly where it's needed. And what are these hormones even made of? Well, it all comes down to a single, essential nutrient, iodine. And I mean essential. There is no alternative pathway here. Without iodine, your body simply cannot make thyroid hormone. Full stop. And that is exactly why adding iodine to table salt is one of the greatest public health successes in history. It's such a simple fix, but it prevents goiter, that's the swelling of the thyroid gland, and, most importantly, it protects newborns from permanent brain damage, a tiny nutrient with a truly massive impact. Okay, so let's zoom way in, down to the microscopic level. Inside the thyroid, you've got these little functional units called follicles. You can just think of them as tiny hormone factories. And inside, there's a protein framework called thyroglobulin that acts as the assembly line. It's a really elegant process. First, the thyroid cell actively pulls iodide, that's the kind of iodine you get from food, right out of the blood. Then, an enzyme activates it, turning it into iodine so it's ready to go. This active iodine then attaches to that thyroglobulin protein framework. From there, these little parts couple together to form either T4 or T3. But here's the really cool part. The finished hormones don't leave right away. They stay attached to that framework, held in storage, just waiting for the signal to be released. And this whole storage system, that's what makes the thyroid so different from other endocrine glands. It has this incredible strategy that is all about planning for the long haul. I mean, get this. Your thyroid holds a reserve of pre-made hormone that can last for months. It's not like other glands that just make hormones on demand. The thyroid plans way ahead. And this unique strategy has a direct and really important clinical consequence. Think about what that means. Because of this huge reserve, if your thyroid just stopped working today, you wouldn't even feel it tomorrow. The symptoms of an underactive thyroid, hypothyroidism, they creep up on you incredibly slowly as that stockpile is gradually used up over weeks, sometimes even months. So when the body finally does call for them, the thyroglobulin is broken down, freeing up T3 and T4 into the bloodstream. But even then, they don't travel alone. They grab onto transport proteins, which creates this amazing slow-release system. The whole thing is just brilliantly designed for a steady, long-lasting supply.
So that's how it's supposed to work. But what happens when this perfectly tuned control center starts to malfunction? What does it actually feel like when your body's engine is running way too fast or just painfully slow? It all comes back to that main idea we started with, the metabolic rate. Hypothyroidism means that rate is too low. Hyperthyroidism means it's cranked up way too high. And the symptoms you feel are the direct, logical result of whatever that speed is. And just look at this. They're mirror images of each other. With hyperthyroidism, your engine is revving high. You feel hot, you lose weight, your heart might race, you feel anxious. But with hypothyroidism, that engine is sputtering out. You feel cold, you might gain weight, you're exhausted, and even your thinking can feel sluggish. It just all makes perfect sense when you understand the underlying physiology. And it's not just about metabolism. This hormone is absolutely vital for growth, especially for a developing brain. If a newborn is deficient, it can lead to permanent, irreversible intellectual disability if it's not caught and treated right away. This is exactly why newborn screening programs are so incredibly important. So who controls the controller, right? Well, let's zoom out and look at the elegant feedback loop that's run by the command centers in the brain. This is what keeps the whole system perfectly in check.
It's basically a top-down chain of command. It starts up in the brain with the hypothalamus. That signals the pituitary gland, which then releases a messenger called TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone. I mean, the name says it all, right? TSH is the signal that tells the thyroid, okay, time to get to work and release your hormones. But it's a really smart system. As the levels of T3 and T4 rise in your blood, that signal travels back up to the pituitary and basically tells it, all right, we've got enough for now. You can ease up. This is a classic negative feedback loop, and it's what prevents your hormone levels from ever getting too high.
And once you get this loop, reading basic thyroid labs suddenly makes perfect sense. If your thyroid is overactive and it's pumping out way too much hormone, the pituitary just goes quiet and stops sending TSH. But if your thyroid is failing, the pituitary screams for action by pumping out tons and tons of TSH. The lab results tell a very clear story once you know what to look for. And that really is the biggest takeaway here. Physiology isn't about just memorizing a bunch of facts. It's about seeing the logic in it. Once you understand the why behind the system, the patterns and the mechanisms, that's when the knowledge really sticks with you. When you really grasp the elegant logic of the thyroid, from the iodine it needs to that feedback loop that controls it, you're not just learning facts anymore. You're actually learning to understand the language of your own body. Thanks for listening.